I'm Allie with Potomac Beads. Join me in making this crystal cloud bracelet featuring some of our new disco beads. Remember, if you need any supplies, you can shop with us online. Gather up your materials and let's get started. So to begin, I have one of my crystal labradorite, that nice crystal silver color of my 8mm mirror bead, or my disco ball bead. And what I'm doing is putting it on some .006 Wildfire beading thread. I have a stop bead at the end of my thread here, just a bead that's going to come off that I've taken the thread through 2 times. I left enough thread at the end so I can come back and do the clasp. We're going to begin with 2 of our 15-0s, 1 11-0, and 2 15-0s. My 15-0s are in the crystal lab color, and my 11-0 is in the silver lined light sapphire. Both are the Miyuki brand. I'm going to take my needle and thread back down through that same disco ball, and I want it to sit so that the 11-0 sits facing up. Now this is actually going to be how we're going to continue the bracelet, and we're coming back now to the starter side. On the starter side, I want you to do 1 and 2 of your 15s, 1 11, and 1 and 2 of your 15s as well. From here, go back up through that same disco ball and out through one of the first 15-0s. Doesn't matter if you're on the right or the left. Give a nice tight pull, making sure that it kind of sits almost like a little bow there, or a little dumbbell, that you have the 2 11s sitting mirroring on one another's sides. Coming out through that first 15-0, I want you to grab a series of 1 of your 4mm of your crystals, and I'm using the Montana color, 1 15-0, and then 3 more crystals, 1 more 15-0, and 1 more crystal. So you're doing 5 crystals in total. The 3 in the center are grouped together, separated by a 15. Coming to the other side of this disco ball, I want you to sew into one of the 15-0s on the same side and come on out through the disco ball. That's going to put these cubes on the sides to create our little start of our clouds. From here, go ahead and sew up through that same side. I'm sewing through both 15s now, both the first and the second, and then out. Do a nice little tight pull to make sure you don't have any extra thread showing. When coming out the top here, I want you to add 1, 2, 3, and 4 of your 15-0s. Sew through the first 15 and the first crystal as you're coming down on this little loop that you've created. Once you have those 4 15s in there and you're coming out through the second crystal, I want you to add 5 more of your 15s. Once you have those 5 15s on, go ahead and sew through the next crystal and the next 15. Once you're through the next crystal and the next 15, go ahead and add on 4 more of your 15s. The one in the center here, if you can, get that to sit a little bit in a point. Add again 4 more, 1, 2, 3, and 4 of your 15s, and then sew down through those 2 15s on the same side. At this point, you want to take your thread and needle through the disco ball, and once you're through the disco ball and out to the other side, I want you to go to the next side of 15s. So we did everything on the right here. I want to go to the left and start over. We're going to go through the first 15 there. Once I'm coming out the first 15, go ahead and repeat, doing 1 crystal, 1 15, 3 crystals, 1 15, 1 crystal, and then back in on the opposite side here into just that first 15-0, and then through the crystal. That's going to decorate the opposite side. Now when you're out the crystal through the opposite side now, you're going to repeat again up through the first 2 15s. So we went through the first one to add the side, and now we're going through the second one as well in order to add the seed beads on the side of the cubes. Once you're through the 15 there. You can see I flipped it in my hand to make it a little bit easier to hold. You're going to repeat the same thing that you did on the other side. On go 1, 2, 3, and 4 of your 15s. Straight through the 15 and the crystal after hopping through the first one. When you're out that second crystal, same thing. Go ahead and add 5 more 15s. And once you have those 5 15s, sew through the crystal, the 15, and out. If you can, again, try to make that so that it sits in a little bit of a peak. Coming here, add 4 more beads. And when you have those 4 more beads there, you're going to sew through the 15 O's that sit right before the disco ball, and then straight through the disco ball to the other side. That's going to be our first unit. One thing to say is that it's also a nice little beautiful earring. So if you want to, you can come off of this design here and create an earring. Once you're out through the disco ball, I want you to go up through 2 of the 15s. It doesn't matter which one, right or left. And then you're also going to sew through the 11O. Once you're through the 11O, we repeat the exact same thing. So to add our disco ball, we're going to add 2 of our 15s. Sew through our 8mm disco. At the top here, do the repeat of 1 and 2 15s, 1 11, 1 and 2 15s, back down through the disco. When you get to the other side of that disco bead, make sure to give a nice tight pull, tightening up all the thread there, making sure that 11O sits towards the top. And then coming out the bottom here, you're going to add 2 more 15s, and you're going to sew through the 11O, making sure that whatever side your thread was coming out of, you sew into the opposite side so the beads sit correctly. Give a nice little tight pull, and you'll see that it sits in there perfectly right on the end. From here, sew down through and out to the other side of our disco ball. When you're out the other side of the disco ball, come out through the first 15O and repeat the process of adding on and starting in with your cubes. Just like I did the first one here, you're going to do the second one, adding in the cubes as well as the seed beads, and then I'll join you as we have our 2 sides finished. As you're unding and coming back around, you have your 5 15Os that you just added on the right side after you've gone in and added your crystals. And when you're coming out of the 15O right before the last crystal, I want you to add simply 1 and 2 15s. Then you're going to share the 2 15s that sit along the side of the crystal from the row before. After you share those 2 15s, you're going to sew back down through the 2 seed beads on the side there of the crystal, straight through and to the other side of the disco ball. When you give a nice tight pull then, that pulls those beads to sit perfectly in the center with the 11O just kind of gazing right there in the middle. On this side now, I'll do the exact same thing, sewing through beads number 1 and 2. I'll flip it over so that I'm on the opposite side, so now I can have it on there. Add my 1 crystal, my 1 15, 3 of my crystals, and my 1 15 and 1 more crystals. Once those 5 crystals are added, go ahead and go through the 15 that sits right before that 8mm bead on the right side now. Once you're through on the other side here, adding those crystals for the side cloud, you're going to go through both beads 1 and then bead number 2 and out. Once you're out those 2 15s, you're going to decorate the top of this bead here with 4 more crystals, or seed beads, sorry. After those 4, go ahead and go into the bead that's already there. In the 15, go through the crystal, add 5 15s, Skip over the middle crystal and sew through crystal number 4 as well as the 15. Again, here's that connector piece here. I'm going to add 2 15s, sew through the 2 15s that sit on the crystal on the side from the one before. So I'm sewing down through those 2 there. Sew down through the 2 15s and then straight out the crystal to the other side. When you give a tight pull, again, it pulls those in so they sit perfectly next to one another. Take your thread and needle, up through the 2 15s, out through the 11-0, and start again. Once you get to the end of the bracelet, we are going to go in and put in, like we're getting ready to start our next one, 2 15s and then 3 of our 11-0 seed beads. Grab your cup button, go through the back of the cup button. When you come out the top, I want you to put on 3 more of your 11-0 seed beads. Come back down through the back of the button there. Add on 3 more 11s, 2 more 15s, and then sew through that same 11, just as if we were putting on another one of our disco beads through the end. That's going to attach the button to the end of the bracelet. From here, go back up through all those seed beads, back up through the top of the cup button, and this is going to reinforce so that way we have a nice amount of thread right at the clasp. If you want to, you can also use a clasp garden clasp, Potomac clasp, or you can use a button of another kind. Have fun picking whatever you want. If you are using a metal clasp, I would suggest a wire guard. After 2 or 3 times down, come back through that 11-0, and then I'm going to travel back down through my 15s, back down through the disco, pick somewhere here on the side, and do some half hitch knots, going underneath my bridge thread, knotting in, and then burning the thread down. Once you have that, you're going to get ready then to do the loop on the other side of the bracelet for your clasp. On the other side of the bracelet, once you are done with your crystals and creating your little clouds, you're most likely going to end up between 11 and 12 of the 8mm rounds. Coming out the end then, once you're all finished, you're going to mimic the other side, adding in 2 15s, then 27 of your 11-0 seed beads. 2 more 15s, and then same deal here. Go back through that 11-0, go back through this loop one more time to reinforce the area that the clasp will be going through, and then tie back down into the bracelet to finish off your beautiful crystal cloud design. Thanks so much for joining me in making this crystal cloud bracelet. Remember, the materials fit so snugly and nice together, but it's always fun to comment below and say any changes that you might make in the design. Remember, if you do need any materials, we are here for you. You can shop with us online. Also, if you haven't yet, make sure to click that little link to subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. Thanks so much for watching, and enjoy our new crystals here at Potomac Beads.